Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome into Inside Arkansas Live here on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I'm your host, John Neighbors, alongside Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis, and appreciate each and every one of you for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon, as we are going to have a lot more to talk about today because it's chaos. It's wild. It's fun. It's crazy. A lot of speculation, a lot of reports, a lot of stuff coming out. We're going to have it all breaking down here on the show today. We'll get to our heavy hitters presented by HD Roofing and Construction. We'll have some fun, of course, in the chat presented by Basis Health. And we'll get into everything that's the latest, not only with college football, but some college basketball and all that good stuff. But fellas, it's Tuesday. So I was saying before the show, it feels like the past 2 or 3 days have been just one long day. Pretty chaotic, but pretty entertaining. How are the vibes here on Tuesday?
Pretty good, man. Yeah, entertaining is a good way to put it. I have enjoyed following the rumor mill so far. Shout out to Nick Saban. Shout out to Deion Sanders. Shout out to everybody else who's been connected to this job, through the back channelings and the inner workings there. This stuff is fun, man. It really is. I hope that it stays this entertaining and fun for the next 2 months, because that's how long it's going to be before they make any decisions. But it's been cool. And I haven't even thought about just yet, man, what is this team going to look like next weekend with Bobby Petrino back at the helm? So at some point I got to start thinking about that as well. But it's an interesting time that we're living in. Plenty of excitement for sure. And that's without even mentioning that, basketball starts on Friday.
Yeah, I am looking forward to that basketball, man. And by the time, when you said, John, that it's Tuesday, I had to double take for a second. I'm like, there's no way it's Tuesday, but it is in fact Tuesday. This week is not even at the halfway point. So we've had a lot of information to last us through the week. I'm getting a kick out of you mentioned the rumor mill, Curtis. How many people seem to think that the answer to this question is coming imminently? That we're about to find out who's going to be the next head coach at Arkansas tomorrow, which is just fun stuff. And it's hearing stuff season, it's talking season, it's backtracking season, it's I heard from a buddy season, and it's a very good time of year, and it's a very good time for people in our line of work for sure.
Oh yeah. It's the impatience that always cracks me up. Like you said, Andrew, it's oh, you're going to have it done right now, because not every coaching search is created equal. And for Arkansas fans, if you think about the coaching searches that they've gone through, at least on the football side of things, they haven't had anything like this case happen really since Jack Crow got fired, which was after 2 or 3 games in the season. We're talking about over half a season. We were going to have an interim coach. You haven't done that in baseball. You haven't done that in basketball, at least for not that long point of time. You're having 9 weeks of an interim with Bobby Petrino. And that's where I think fans have to understand that you can't look at it in the same lens of previous coaching searches where it's okay, well, we're going to start hearing names right now because you waited until after the season to fire him. No. It's the season has to go on. You're not going to have any sort of concrete reporting. You'll have some people throw some names around and be here's what I'm hearing that they may be out into or whatever. But as far as anything legitimate, I would be shocked. If anything got put out there before the season started. In fact, I was telling Andrew before the show, it's the only way I see Arkansas having a coach or about to hire a coach before the season is over is, one, Bobby Petrino wins his 4 or 5 straight games and they're all right, you're the guy. Or 2, they end up hiring somebody who's not employed right now, like a John Gruden or something like that. And they're hey, we want him to get ahead of the game and start recruiting and start putting everything together right away. Those are the only 2 ways that you have a coach or a coach legitimately on the radar before the season ends.
Yeah, it's you're right. Remove the interim tag or Nick Saban takes over. You know what I mean? That's that pretty much sums it up. The other part about this too, we talk about the 9 weeks and 7 games and everything like that. Do the goalposts move after every game in terms of who's a legitimate candidate for the job and who's not? Does Bobby winning more games, does that narrow down your pool to much more higher profile candidates? Or if it's not going well and they get, clapped at Tennessee and you get blown out at home to A&M or something, is okay, well, suddenly we're a little bit more open to a wider pool of candidates. Maybe not. I don't know. But, when we talk about recruiting all the time, people get annoyed because you say, yeah, recruiting's fluid, man. Things are ever changing. That's going to be the case with this right now. Not only how Bobby Petrino performs and how Arkansas performs out there, but we're going to be watching all of these other candidates. Are we going to change our mind on Rhett Lashley 35 times, depending on how SMU season goes? Or John Summerall, man, he's the man, but all of a sudden, Memphis beats Tulane by 4 touchdowns. Or do we change our mind on that? This is crazy, man. And I'm excited about it. The content possibilities are unlimited, really.
Yeah, I think one thing we can definitely count on is that the landscape is going to change drastically week to week. And some of that will deal with Arkansas. Some of that will deal, like you mentioned, Curtis, with some of these other teams. But there's going to be every week, there's going to be a new name that we didn't really consider that we hear and we say, oh my God, actually it is going to be this guy. And then the next week, there's so much room. And to the point you were making, John, we've just never been in this spot before. We've done coaching searches. We've done interim coaches. We've done things here and there. We've been in the rumor mill. We have never had a season that is this long, and it's all going to be consumed by coaching search and what we're hearing. And so it's going to be exciting. And like you said, it's going to be unlimited content, Curtis. I think one thing that's important to remember here is, again, we are going to hear a lot of things. And when I say hear a lot of things, there's the Discord, there's the message boards, there's the rumor mill, there's people on Twitter, there's just everybody, feels like they know what's about to happen here and they want to make that known. Hey, this is what I'm hearing. This is what I heard from my buddy. This is what's going to happen here. And I'm not saying that it's all BS, but I'm saying there is reasoning for all of it. And that reasoning may simply be this coach wants a raise. This coach wants to plant that seed for maybe later years down the line. Oh, this is a public positioning time period here. And I think that's very important to remember. Whoever Arkansas hires, regardless of who that is, whether it's Bobby or anyone else, whoever is doing the hiring and whoever is getting hired, they do not want us to know about it. Like, it is not something that, like, if you're having conversations with a school trying to be their next head coach, it's not really in your best interest for it to leak publicly. So when it does leak publicly, it's up to us to kind of figure out, what does that mean? And so I think it's very important, especially week 1, when the coaching search has been 3 days long and we're like, Joey McGuire's taking the job. Kenny Dillingham, he signed on the dotted line last night. There's a reason why you hear certain things, and we can have a discussion as to what that means. But I think I think we need to err on the side of caution here, because I already see people getting so up in arms and all worked up. And I just think it's time for us to kind of evaluate, hey, what does this mean? And there's a lot we can take from it. But I do not necessarily think this is going to be a short process. I think it's going to be a long one.
Yeah, I'm curious what you guys think, just where it stands right now. We'll use Petrino because we know for a fact that's the one coach we know for a fact is legitimately in the mix, legitimately wants the job, and has, in some cases, a legitimate shot at getting said job. That's the only coach we know for sure right now. So I'm curious, where would you guys put it on his percentages? Because I've been talking to our guy Carlton over at SARACEN. Like, hey man, we need to start getting some bets out here. We need to start saying, all right, Bobby Petrino, what are the odds? Give me the odds here. Where would you guys stand as far as right now, Bobby Petrino being the next head coach permanently at Arkansas? Is it a 50-50 shot? Is it a 30-70 shot? Like, what do you think?
I don't know if I could go 50-50. Not before they play a game. I don't think I could go there, but I might go a little bit higher than 35. Is that too high?
I don't think so, because I was going to say 30.
Okay. There we go.
It's way higher than I would have initially thought. Like, even Saturday, watching the game play out and knowing that Sam Pittman was likely going to be fired, whether it was that day or the next day or whatever, and knowing that Bobby would be the interim and that, yeah, sure, he would probably be considered. Even in that moment, I didn't really buy it as a real thing. And I, still to this day, I'm not sure how I feel. And I know we've talked about it. Like, I don't know how I feel about that premise. Bobby taking over full time. I have my serious doubts and skepticism about should that be the option. But I agree that it is becoming more and more likely by the day. The thing I keep coming back to is the University of Arkansas likes to do stuff that is not risk taking. They like to do stuff that is kind of the safe, conservative option. I mean, they just had Sam Pittman as their head football coach for 6 years. And so if there's an option where, like, it doesn't require a ton of work and it doesn't require a ton of money and it doesn't require a ton of thinking outside the box, that's likely going to be the option the U of A goes with. So that's why I think Petrino is very, very high up on their radar. And of course, will be on the radar of a lot of people in the state who love Bobby.
And it's important to note here that, like, because I'm very much monitoring the chat here. We're not endorsing it. We're not saying that this is what we want to happen or that this is what should happen, but it's hard not to put a higher percentage. Somebody said you're smoking crack. It's 10% at best. It's hard not to give it a higher value than that, given everything that we've seen so far. In the announcement that Pittman gets fired, they announced Bobby Petrino. It's like he's running for office here. He's a candidate. You give him the power, the authority to fire the entire defensive staff. So like he's given full autonomy over the program, which if you're a viable candidate, you should be. As long as you're not babysitting the program, then you should be given that. So from the outside looking in, it seems like they're giving him every opportunity to legitimately compete for the position. We know that there are some powerful people, especially in Central Arkansas, that would be big proponents of that. And there are going to be others who aren't, but I definitely think it's higher than a 10% chance here, in terms of what Bobby can do. We'll see how it all plays out, but I do think he's a legitimate candidate for the job, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. Because again, it's a matter of what do you know? There's not this speculation. There's not this like, oh, well, these names getting thrown around. Yeah, sure, one of those could be. But again, it goes back. Bobby Petrino is an established head coach. He's been here at Arkansas. He's been on the staff. He's been in the program, and he wants the job. And he has publicly said he wants the job. So all those things considered, you can't give him less than a 10% chance. Like he is a guy that's like those things alone are going to get you into the 25, 30% range as it is. It's just a matter of what he does in the next 9 weeks, because that's how he's looking at it. And in a weird way, I'm not saying this is all some conspiracy because I don't believe in that nonsense, but in a weird way, if you are Arkansas and if you were going to have a situation, I would be hard pressed to find a better setup than having Bobby Petrino as an interim coach who has been your offensive coordinator over the past year and a half to like put you in this position as far as having like how many, I know interim coaches, some of them end up being great. Some of them end up not so much, but there's a lot worse coaches you could have as interim in this situation than Bobby Petrino.
Well, yeah. And Bobby Petrino he's kind of the reason why Razorback fans demand more, want more, because he's the guy who's shown you that you can get to the heights that you're talking about reaching here. So that's another aspect of like you've been there with him. And I know the game has changed, and trust me, I'm fully aware of all the circumstances that led to him leaving Arkansas, but you've reached that quote unquote pinnacle that you've been trying to find with him. And so you take that into account, you take the experience. He's not your typical interim head coach by any stretch of the imagination. So this is fascinating. And it's also, like we mentioned yesterday, in terms of what this could look like financially, because I see some people saying, oh, we need to make a splash hire. We got to make a splash hire. You got to have splash money. And I believe it when they say they're going to have more to work with than they did with Sam Pittman. At least I certainly hope that's the case. But understand what that means. And are you going to be able to do that? Are you really going to be able to pull that off? What we know without a doubt, if we're talking about what we know, as you said, John, you would be able to pull it off easily with Bobby Petrino. Like you could give that man a 4 times raise and still save a bunch of money for everything else, because he ain't going anywhere else. He's not going to get another P4 head coaching job. I don't even know if he wants one, but you have the leverage in this particular situation. So again, this isn't a stumping for Petrino to get the job so much as making sure everybody understands that, yes, he is a very legitimate candidate to get it in the long term here for a lot of different reasons.
We need to have like a button that like reiterates our stance of like, hey, we are talking about the world we live in, and we're discussing possibilities of like what might or might not happen, or the way that things are trending. We are not offering our endorsement, because I'll even go ahead and tell you right now, like I've said it before, I am typically lean on the side of being anti Bobby Petrino being the head coach. Like that is not something that I want, but all the things we're saying are true. And John, you mentioned whether this being like the most ideal setup. What I think is the most ideal part about it is whatever you want to happen, whether you're a guy that hates Bobby and you're like, I do not want this dude being the head coach at all. There is a very clear path to that happening, which is they go 1-7 or 1-6 or whatever, and they just flame out. The team quits on him too, and then we're all good. Then disaster averted. You're all good. If you're a guy that's like, man, if we could do anything possible to get Bobby, well, if they win 4 games here, he's going to be the head coach. And so, again, we can have the conversation of should they go that route? Is it the right move? Blah, blah, blah. I don't even care to have the conversation because it's, like to your point, John, like it's going to play out. So it's like, what better way to make a decision when you're in the middle of making a decision? You have a sample size about to be presented to you that is going to help inform that decision. And so we did the thing of, is it a 30% chance or is it a 40% chance? You go out there and you beat Tennessee. All of a sudden it goes to over 50 right off the bat. And then, hey, if you lose 75-0 to Tennessee, maybe it goes down a little bit. And then it's going to continue to move. So I honestly, for everyone in the chat that's arguing about whether or not Bobby should or shouldn't be the answer. It's like, dude, it's going to play out, and like we will get to figure out in real time what that's going to look like and what the likelihood is. But as it stands today, I agree with everything you guys said, that based on all the tea leaves and all the messaging coming from the U of A, at the very least, I think we can assume that they would like for him to be an ideal candidate. Like in an ideal world, he wins and you have this kind of back pocket. You have this kind of safekeeping plan in your back pocket that is very cheap, very doable, wouldn't take a ton of a transition. Like, I think it would be in the U of A's best interest, especially being them that don't like to take chances, don't like to take risks, don't like to spend money. And so whether you like it or not, this is a very real possibility that we will have to watch play out and let it do its thing.
I'll tell you what, as part of our Alumni Hall question of the day presented by Alumni Hall, go to insidearkansas.com/alumni hall, and you'll get all the greatest Razorback apparel available anywhere. And it's a great spot to go for all of your needs when it comes to Razorback football, basketball, baseball. They got hats, they got polos, they got jerseys, all the high-end stuff. And you can shop them online, or you can go in store at 3417 North College Avenue. But be sure to use that code HOGSBY20 for 20% off your purchase at insidearkansas.com/alumni hall. I was just curious where Razorback fans were sitting of, hey, you got 7 games. How many does Bobby Petrino win as the interim coach? Just right off the bat. And this is also going with the assumption, and maybe I should have characterized it in it. That's also going with the assumption that no players are leaving. Because as of right now, where it stands, at least according to my knowledge, there hasn't been any players jumping into the portal. So we're just playing the assuming game on that. And right now, leading the way, guys, 42% of Razorback fans feel like 2 wins will happen for the Razorbacks. 32% say 3+ wins. Okay. One game is at 17.5%, and only 8.5% say 0. So if you want to look at it from this perspective, Arkansas fans, according to this very accurate poll, over about 75% of them say Arkansas with Bobby Petrino is going to win 2 or more games. So
that's probably about where I have it. They're not going to go over.
I don't think they're going over.
I don't think they're going to go over. Yeah, I'll give them 2. I think there's room in there for a third, but you know how it goes. I'm going to give them 2, I think.
2 is where I'm at right now. And if we're going by the scale that was first reported by Andrew Ellis yesterday, where two or less would probably mean you don't bring back Bobby as the head coach, I think they win 2. If you win that third one, I think it becomes a lot closer, like a 45% chance that he's the head coach. I think 2 is where I land, and I think 2 would make it pretty easy to not hire him as the head coach, in my opinion.
Yeah. Do you guys think any of those 2 wins would be on the road at all? Or one of those 2 wins be on the road?
No.
I don't know.
Who's Tennessee on the road?
LSU.
Texas.
I don't think so,
I think
man.
between Auburn, Mississippi State, and Missouri, you can find 2 wins there.
That's how I feel. Yeah.
And I'll say this, the main reason I brought it up. I kind of feel like 2 wins might be there, but man, it would be kind of funny, kind of cool if like Arkansas does finally beat Missouri, and it's with Bobby Petrino, like to finally do that.
Yeah, it's like his what do they call it in court? It's like your final remarks before they send it to the jury for you know what I mean?
Yep.
That's a hell of a way to close out your audition, you know?
Yeah. Got to get those. Hey, listen, guys, the trophy games are all still on the line right now. Like if Bobby could get all the trophy games, he could win them all.
Will they recreate that picture?
Exactly.
On the throne?
That'd be crazy. I'd do it though.
Dude, you think Bobby's gonna roll Larry out there if they go to a bowl game? You think he's gonna
No, he's not. But if they go to a bowl game, Bobby should buy himself a new house, because I think he's going to have a lot more money in his account.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because he literally would go 4-3 the rest of the way against like the easiest game is Mississippi State the easiest game? I don't even know if it is at this point, but like
him or Auburn,
but yeah. I think Auburn might be an easier game because they're very offensively challenged.
Yeah.
Mississippi State can score it and Arkansas can't stop it. So that's a little bit scary, but Auburn's had a hell of a time moving the football and scoring. So
I do think, because I believe Mississippi State goes to College Station this weekend. Do I have that right?
I think
they go to College Station, and I saw the spread is like 14. And I've seen a lot of people who were like, dude, Mississippi State, there's no way they should be 14-point underdogs. I think that they're going to get on the road, and we will get to find out a little bit about Mississippi State because they played very well last week at home against Tennessee, and you're up for that game. You played very well against Arizona State. Big win for your program at home. What will they look like on the road in College Station against a superiorly talented football team? I think that will tell us a little bit something. But if they go out there and play A&M to a one-score game on the road, it's going to be hard for me to consider that a win at home. I mean, now I do think being at home helps, but like if they go out there and play well in College Station, that will make me a little bit concerned. But I think it's possible A&M thumps them pretty good, and then we look at that game and say, oh, we can beat Mississippi State on the road. They're not as good. Yeah,
I will say the SEC slate is kind of stinky this weekend. I mean, you got Kentucky, Georgia, you got Texas, Florida. It's like we all thought Vanderbilt and Alabama being the game of the week. Then you got Kent State and Oklahoma. Like, why is Oklahoma playing Kent State in like week 6? Whatever. And then Mississippi State A&M. So not a lot of great games to choose from in the SEC. But yeah, no, the Mississippi State thing you'll find out a lot about, and it's going to be fascinating to see how it plays out with some of these games. But here's my thing about those 2 games with Mississippi State and Auburn, which I agree with y'all are the easiest. It's also going to be about where's this team at, because if they get thumped by A&M and then thumped by Tennessee and then get thumped by A&M, they may be like, right, this team, we're done. We're not even going to play anymore. And then they end up folding and not even winning those games.
They've shown the propensity to do that already this season. So yeah, that's very much in play also. Understand the difference between like your best opportunities or easiest challenges versus, these are wins. Because I don't think we can look at any game and be like, oh yeah, they got this one in the bag for sure. This schedule is brutal, man. It absolutely is. And listen, when you're on the ropes and you have to fire a coach after 5 games and your defense is what it is, and you've got like GAs promoted to position coaches or coordinate, you might be bringing somebody from the outside. This is a massive, massive challenge for these guys. It's going to be, I don't even know what to expect in terms of what they're going to look like in this game against Tennessee. The defense is, I mean, I don't know that it could get worse, but it's going to be a must-see TV situation.
Yeah, as someone with a large ego who prides myself on feeling like I know stuff, I take a lot of pride in like knowing kind of what's going to happen, going into a game. And not that I know who's going to win or lose, but at least you kind of know, hey, if we run the ball, we can win. If we don't stop this guy, we're going to lose. You kind of know the matchups. You know what you need to do in order to win. That's what sucks about this is we're going back to scratch, where it's like we have nothing to base it off of. And hell, we went into the Notre Dame game and I said, I have no idea. Like if Arkansas shows up, they could win this game. If they show up, they could make this game close. But I was like, man, we had no idea. We are now back there. And, maybe some of you think, hey, you never knew anything. Maybe that's true. But we are now back to where it's like I could be talked into anything. I just kind of have to see it. And so I hope people in the chat don't mistake that we're saying like, we can't see a path to them losing out. I could definitely see a path, or that I couldn't see a path to them winning 4 games. I could see a path to that. I just don't know where it's going to be. It could literally be everything in between, which I know is the cop-out take.
You kind of wish that, I'm sure if you're Petrino, and you can't do anything about it, but it's like it would have been nice, he had those warm-up games to start the season before he really get going like Arkansas did this year. But she's like, man, I wish we had the Auburn and the Mississippi State games up next at home, and then to kind of warm up a little bit, get our pride and our confidence back. And then, because here's my thing, if they found a way to screw around and beat Tennessee, how do you not suddenly I'll be like, man, guys, I could see them winning every game the rest of the way. I mean, it's going to happen.
Everything. It changes the entire conversation. It changes the way we view this thing. It changes everything that you thought was possible. If they go out there and even if they play Tennessee close, like if they lose by 7 to Tennessee, I'm going to view this through a very different lens.
Tennessee, it just cracks me up that Tennessee has ended up as inevitably what saved Sam Pittman's job a year ago. And now the Tennessee win would inevitably be what gives Bobby Petrino the head coaching job. I'm like, you stinking Tennessee, man. You guys have had more impact on the coaching for Razorback football than anybody. It'd be wild, dude.
Imagine the first year where the schedule it makes a little bit more sense. Like, wouldn't Bobby be a happier man if he got to play Florida International during this audition or Louisiana Tech again during this audition? Mm-hmm. Nope. Sorry, buddy. You don't get that at all.
Hey, but on the other side of it, though, it could be the way of like, hey, you leave no doubt. Because if it's like you had those easier games, people are like, well, he won those games, but those against crap teams. It's like, no, if he has success with this schedule, there's no doubt he's leaving at all.
I will also say that if Tennessee football does not beat Arkansas football this year, you are never going to beat Arkansas
Never
football.
happening.
Like, you have played Arkansas like 4 times in pretty much the worst stretch in program history, and you have lost all of those times. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like, 2015, you lose. I guess that would have been 11, you lose horribly. You lose in 2020 in Sam Pittman's first year. You lose to him in his last full year. And then now if you lose to the interim, you're just not beating Arkansas ever again.
Yeah, no, that's right. I feel the same way, because I've made the joke that if Georgia would have lost to Tennessee earlier this year, the team that had the longest winning streak over Tennessee would have been Arkansas, if that would have happened. Like, that's how crazy it's been in the success. They've beaten them every year since last time they lost to Tennessee was in 2007. So, and not to say they played every year, but they've still played about 5-6 times. And that's been the biggest difference there. All right, we'll continue on the conversation here in a little bit, but want to remind everybody that Hickey and Hull Law is the official law firm of us here at Inside Arkansas. And we know that divorce and custody cases, they are way, way, way too important to face alone. So you need help. You need help with all of your legal advice, making sure you're protected, making sure you're taken care of. And that's what Hickey and Hull Law will do for you. They have offices in Fayetteville, Fort Smith, Little Rock, and in Mena. And if you need any help with your legal advice, call the #1 legal team in the state, Hickey and Hull, at 479-434-2414. That's 479-434-2414. You can also check out their website at hickeyandhull.com. It's Hickey and Hull Law. Things are about to get better. Okay, I know we'll get to some of your chats and everything, folks. There's a lot going on, but I did want to bring up, since we're talking about coaching searches and whatnot, inevitably, the Rhett Lashley situation. If everybody's asking and thinking, connecting, oh, Rhett Lashley, he's former Razorback, all of that. Well, he was officially asked today about the job, and here's what he had to say.
Where do you stand on that, and how do you react when your name is in these rumors this time of year?
Yeah, I mean, I don't stand anywhere on speculation and hypotheticals. So I'm happy. I've got a great job. I think when your name gets linked to jobs, it means your team has done well, the program has done well. So it's a compliment to what our staff and administration and players have built over the last 3+ years. And then a lot of times there's obvious connections. I mean, if it's your alma mater, it's easy to link names. But I haven't given it any thought because there hasn't been anything to give thought to. It's a fair question, but I'm really excited with what we're building here. I'm not discouraged at all by the fact that we're sitting here at 2-2. I think when you look at it, we've got a chance to go 1-0 in the league this year, which would be 9 straight conference games to start the ACC. I think what we've began to build is really fun, and what we can build is even more special. We got an excellent recruiting class that's freshmen right now. We got a top 25 recruiting class in 26, and a lot of guys on this roster that can come back. And so those are the guys that we're focused on. So, you just, until there's things to talk about, you don't talk about them. Internally, we haven't said a word about it because in my world, nothing's going on. Outside of the world, there's a lot of that speculation, and that's part of our business, and it's probably not going anywhere.
All right, guys. I mean, he's off the table. Get him off the board. He said he's not coming to Arkansas. He's not focused on it. Yeah.
That man said, "I don't stand on anything, including business." I mean, that was a well done deflection job right there for a moment. But listen, he's not going to come out and say, "Yeah, I'm interested in the job," or "Yeah, my people are talking to Arkansas. Oh yeah, we'll see how this goes." He's got a team to coach. He's in the middle of a season here. Just because Arkansas has a job opening doesn't mean that he doesn't have a job to do still, and it doesn't rule him out just because he said that. Everybody knows that. But the question has to be asked, and so I'm glad somebody asked it. And I saw it already rolled off the screen here. I think it was David that said we need a body language expert. I love the body language experts, man, because he's squirming a little bit, stuttering a little bit. And you can kind of read between the lines, which what the hell else are we going to do for the next 2 months? Or he was like, there's nothing going on in my world, but to the outside world, like, yeah, your agents or your people or whoever, maybe. Hilarious. Rhett Lashley's been connected to the Arkansas job for I don't know how many years now. And he knows that. He's not naive to it. And we'll see what comes of it. But it was interesting nonetheless that we're starting to see some of these coaches be asked about the Arkansas job, and we can just, overanalyze every single thing they do every time they squirm in their seat or whatever.
One thing people might not realize if you're not super familiar with Rhett Lashley, if you may have looked at it and said, oh man, he had a little bit of a deer in the headlights look. His eyes were very big. That's his default setting. He just he has a little bit of the Morgan Turner where it's just like constantly like eyes are really open and he's really intent in whatever he's saying. So it's like, that's just kind of his mannerisms. I remember with Lane Kiffin, people were like, oh, Lane Kiffin was kind of like awkward at the press conference. I'm like, no, that's just how he answers press conference questions. But yeah, I'm with you guys that like, obviously when you're a coach wearing a logo of a school, it's like you kind of have to, even if you're literally taking the job and you've already accepted the job. I mean, Jim Schlossnagle at A&M, it was literally the day before he accepted the Texas job. He was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I have never, ever spoken to anyone from Texas, ever. And then like 12 hours later, he was like at the press conference wearing the jersey, getting inducted or getting introduced as the head coach. And so I'm with you that he obviously had to say no. I think he handled it pretty well for the most part of like, you just have to dismiss it. In week 6, honestly, it's probably not even that hard to be like, hey, let's table this discussion for just a little bit, right? Like, let me just try and get to 3-2 or whatever. One thing, y'all let me know if I'm reading too much into this. One thing that I thought was interesting in his whole little soliloquy here, which was a lot of the usual stuff you hear, but he said, me being linked to jobs is a testament to our program and is like a good sign, which is terminology you hear from coaches all the time. Usually when you hear that, it is a coach at a group of 5 school being attached to like the USC job where, hey, if you're Jeff Traylor at Texas or UTSA, yeah, hey, me being considered for the USC job, that's a testament to our program because that's clearly a better job. Should I read into the fact that he said that, hey, me being the head coach at SMU, the fact that I'm being tied to the Arkansas job is a good sign for our program, kind of almost makes you believe that SMU is below Arkansas as a program, which, by the way, we all believe that. No doubt about that. Like, cool. But it's like, I think that is actually kind of notable that the coach of SMU is like, yeah, it's a good sign for our program that we're being connected to Arkansas, almost kind of putting Arkansas over. Am I tripping a little bit?
I think personally that because I see what you're saying, but I also think he laid out a resume. Because if you heard him, we got this recruiting class. We've won this many games. We've done this. We've done that. You know, if you're going to do really reverse psychology on that, like that's not him saying, oh, this is a great job. And this is him saying, I've done this at SMU. I'm awesome. So yeah, they're probably going to want me and I'm probably going to take that job. And I'm letting them know that if they do offer me, this is the type of results I deliver. That's the way I'm going to at least take it.
Yeah, I think it might be a nod to the SEC more than anything. Every sure. Coach wants to get into the SEC, you know. The dude just made the college football playoff. But so my point is, money aside, he's in a better position to win at SMU, but Arkansas is a better job. And there's just more prestige involved with being in that league. I don't know about the resources and everything. It'll kind of depend on how that, how does Hunter Yurachek's plan that he said he's going to present to the chancellor and everything, does it wind up being something like Virginia Tech released today? Because if that's the case, okay, we might really be onto something here. But that's kind of where I'm at with it, in terms of the Rhett Lashley situation here. Is it ever the first guy though? Nope. That's why I keep coming to that, because there's so many links here. And I understand that very natural connections to make. He even admitted that it's never the first guy. Chris Beard was going to be Arkansas's basketball coach for 5 years until he wasn't. So I hate to just write Rhett Lashley off because of that, but the science is sound, man. So I'm having a hard time with it right now. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, and by the way, since we're in the business of putting out our opinions, like I think Arkansas could do a lot better than Rhett Lashley. If I'm being 100% honest with you, like not to say that he's not a good coach or not a solid candidate, I would it wouldn't take me long to talk myself into Rhett Lashley, but I think I see sometimes people talk about him like he's like the golden goose that like we should all be like praying and hoping comes to Arkansas. I don't necessarily feel that way, and I don't know how you guys feel. I'm not here to argue about it. I think it's interesting, but you're right, Curtis. It's definitely not ever as simple as we make it out to be, of like, oh yeah, there's a job opening. Who are the first few guys that you would consider? Oh, Rhett Lashley would be on the list. Okay. He's the first guy that's like heavily rumored. Oh, okay. That's the coach. It's like, yeah, that's never how it works out. And I definitely think there's something to the idea. I mean, Rhett Lashley, by the way, got a huge bump last year. Mm-hmm. So last year there was already this buzz. He got a bump. Brett Lashley is a veteran, and he, by the way, comes from the Gus Malzahn coaching tree, which is important to remember for a lot of reasons, for good and bad reasons. But he is not a stranger to positioning himself publicly, saying the right things, making the argument to the point you were making, John, about he's kind of laying out the case of why he would be a great candidate, why him staying at SMU makes sense, which could help him in negotiations with Arkansas. And then also, yeah, of course, Arkansas wants me as their job. It's important for SMU to know that he's an important candidate at Arkansas. And so he's not an idiot. He knows all of these things. And so I think we're gonna overanalyze it because that's what we do, and that's what I'm doing here. But I'm with you that it's never as simple as that first guy. And it's just gonna be interesting to watch how this thing plays out.
Well, to me, Rhett Lashley, if you're like making like a bullseye or like a circle of, like coaches' names that are getting thrown around, you feel like some of them are going to be on the outside for random reason. Like there may be one that's over here that's, it's too much money, or the one that's over here, it's like, nah, there's no interest in that. Like you have some kind of out of the box ones. To me, Rhett Lashley is the one that's like right in the middle, where it's not a bad hire, but it's not an elite level hire. It's not one that's going to cost you an arm and leg to make happen, but it's also not going to be cheap. It's not going to be one that you immediately know you're going to be a national championship contender, but you also know you're not going to be an absolute loser and suck. It's like, it's just this, it's a safer where if they hired Rhett Lashley, I'm not going to be on here and be like, this is ridiculously terrible. This is awful. But I'm also not going to sit here and be like, man, get ready, guys, get ready. It's about to happen. It could, but yeah, there's just too much there. And so I feel like if for the vast majority of Razorback fans, maybe I don't speak for all of them, but if they hired Rhett Lashley, it'd be like all right, cool. We can get behind this. We don't know what to expect. We're not expecting anything crazy, but this could play out pretty nicely for Arkansas.
Yeah, I would just say it definitely wouldn't be that. Like I said, it wouldn't take me long at all. If they hired him tomorrow, I would easily come back to you guys on Wednesday and say, you know what? His offense is, that offensive mind, there's something to it. He went to the U of A. He knows what it means. I would easily talk myself in, and it wouldn't be that hard. I guess my thing with Lashley is he's one of those guys that on paper kind of checks all the boxes, like makes a lot of sense. I mean, he went to the U of A. He's at SMU. He just went to the playoff. Like, he has a track record of success. He has a track record of being a good offensive mind. He has ties to the state, ties to around the state. Dallas is obviously a very big area. It makes so much sense on paper, but it's like sometimes the guy that makes sense on paper doesn't necessarily end up being the guy that you need. And so that's kind of the way I view Rhett Lashley. And I don't mean that in a good or bad way. He could very well be that special guy that is the exact right hire, and you just never know how these things work out. But I guess my thing is that, like, I don't love him as much as I should based on how good the resume is on paper. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. Also, the other remark I'll make too is I can't wait that if they hired him, you're going to have stupid people just be like, well, he's basically Chad Morris. We hired him from SMU. It's like, yeah, because they're the same exact guy in the same exact situation. It's like, no,
Chad Morris had a losing record at SMU. That is very different than, and by the way, that was the SMU that was in the West Coast poo-poo conference. This guy went 11-2 in the ACC. A little bit different. But by the way, you mentioned the first guy, Curtis. Are we sure that Rhett Lashley's the first guy? Because according to Jeff Traylor, he's the top candidate for the job. Did y'all see that?
No.
Oh, I saw that. You didn't see that?
John,
I'll get the video.
Try and find the video.
Carry
Jeff
on. I'll get the
Traylor,
video.
Okay.
just out of nowhere was like, yeah, I guess I'm going to have to talk to my team because a lot of people are linking me to this Arkansas job. And so I'll meet with the team about it, man. But yeah, no, I love UTSA. No, and make no mistake, I love UTSA. Appreciate the consideration, but I'm happy where I'm at.
Yeah, maybe
it's very similar to me being like, hey, Tate McRae, man, appreciate the interest, but I love Hillary.
That's a guy that has way too much. He's needing a raise too badly. Like he's doing the subtlety of a baboon. Like you got to be a little bit more subtle than that. That reminded me of, I remember the report years ago when Arkansas had Houston Nutt as the coach, and there was like this statement. It's like Houston Nutt has no interest in the Dallas Cowboys job, and I'm like, okay, what are we doing here? That's funny. I can't believe I didn't see that.
Maybe you should make it to a bowl game this year. Clinch bowl eligibility this year before we can even discuss giving you the keys to an SEC program. No disrespect. I like the guy. I respect the guy. I think he's a solid coach, but like let's relax a little bit.
You want to watch this real quick?
I do want to watch this because it's not that bad of a video. It was just funny that he like assumed that he was being linked to the job when I just have not seen anyone link him to the job.
Yeah, it's like no one asked you, dude. Like what do you think's going on here?
Okay, we're ready.
All right.
because it's always different for each kid, because some of our kids are from Arkansas, so they know more about it than other kids. Some of our kids are from Oklahoma, so they know more about it than other kids. And all the kids on our roster talk about that kind of stuff because that's what everybody else is talking about. So, yeah, I'll address it today again and remind them that I have a long contract here, and that was intentional, and how much we love it here. And we have plans for this place deep into the future. And we're not where I want to be. Everybody knows that. I think they know how impatient I am, and I want to be at the very top of every category we have. And we're not, but Dr. Compost and I are working our tails off to try to get us there. And that's a commitment that I've made to this place, and they've made to me. It just always moves slower than I want it to. But that's a long-term plan, and I plan on being here and seeing this thing through and leaving this place a lot better whenever that day is that we decide we can't do this anymore. But that's a long time from today, I hope.
I love that we've got Rhett Lashley, who actually is being firmly connected to the job, like being reported, rumored, like very much a real candidate. And he's like, I'm not even addressing it with my team because this isn't a real thing. I'm not even going to talk about it. I don't even know what you guys are talking about. And then you have Jeff Traylor, who nobody has mentioned for the job. And he's like, I'm going to meet with my team today at 2 p.m. Yeah. We're going to talk, and we're going to talk about this Arkansas job. By the way, everyone in the chat who's doing the thing where you're like, oh, who is this guy? Y'all don't realize that you are telling on yourselves for not being ball knowers, because he coached at the University of Arkansas and has been talked about as a guy. He's been at UTSA for like 6 years. If you don't know who Jeff Traylor is, that's not a crime, but like that is telling on yourself as a guy that does not pay attention to sport.
I love how you're sitting there connecting yourself to an SEC school, and you're going to meet with your team about it all in the same breath as you're like, now listen, here at UTSA, we're not where we want to be right now. And boy, we're working like heck to meet our goals and get up to the standard of UTSA here. But yeah, I want to talk to my team today about taking the Arkansas job or not. It's like, what the hell are we doing here?
It would have been even better if he was just like, and please, guys, don't talk to my players. Don't ask them about my connections to the Arkansas Razorbacks job, which is now open after Sam Pittman was fired, and they have an interim coach. And, you know, I used to coach there. I don't know if did you guys know that? I used to coach there, and, you know, they have money, I hear. So, but yeah, you know, just, man, that was pretty epic. So who knows? I guess we can cross him off the list though, too, guys. He said it. He's not interested in the job. So go ahead and cross him off the list.
We'll move on to our next candidate.
Yeah, we're moving on to it. We'll get into some more, folks, but want to remind everybody that OZK Insurance is the official insurance company here at Inside Arkansas. We appreciate their support, and I'll tell you what, you'll appreciate them as well, because they are the best in the business when it comes to finding the right coverage for you. No one wants to deal with the hassle of shopping around, but that's why, of course, OZK Insurance is the way to go. They're based right here in Arkansas, and they're Razorback fans, and they shop multiple carriers to find the best coverage and price for you, whether it's home, auto, business, you name it, they're going to do it, and they're going to make sure that you're taken care of and that you have that protection that you can count on. So count on OZK Insurance and get a free online quote today at ozkinsurance.com. That's ozkinsurance.com, or you can call 479-715-4200, 479-715-4200. It's OZK Insurance, protection made simple. Again, we'll have some more. We'll get to your chats, folks. I promise. There's just a lot of things to cover. That's one thing. We may need to start just having a dedicated like chat segment, because there's just so many things to try to cover in such a little time. But I do want to get to your responses and everything. Guys, I want to bring up this article because we'll have our heavy hitters later. But I wanted to bring up this article because you're going to have national college football writers and experts and reporters bringing up things and talking about intel and all that, which, man, I just already want to ban the word intel. I might mute the word intel because I'm already sick of that nonsense. It's like your newest intel. It's like, all right, cool. Just say you got something new to say. But either way, on 3, Pete Nakos, he put out an article just talking about Arkansas and some of the things that goes on with their coaching search and all that. And he threw out a few names, and a lot of them were just like the obvious ones that we've all been talking about and everything. But I wanted to bring up some of his sources that he mentioned in this On 3 article and see what you guys think about it. He says there's a source that said, quote, Arkansas is a better job today than it was 15 years ago. 1, they actually have money. And 2, getting away from the East-West divisions helps them more than anybody, because when you have those permanent opponents, it's a lot harder to win. whatever from that. But the main thing was about the money. And we know that that's been the thing about the money. We talked about it yesterday with Juracek and his comments about Sam Pittman was not financially set up for success, but whoever the new coach will be set up for success. And on Monday, of course, we knew that, but sources have told On3 that the Razorbacks are not at the bottom of the SEC in spending. Arkansas's 2025 roster cost is in the $16 to $17 million range. Sources have told On3. For comparison, LSU spending is roughly $18.5 million when Ole Miss was north of $20 million. It says that how Arkansas continues to find ways moving forward will be critical, but the money is there for Arkansas. Your thoughts?
Well, I think we've always known that the money is there. It's whether or not people are willing to fork it up. So I agree with that statement. The roster price or the salary cap, what do we want to call it? The payroll for this roster, that's significantly higher than any figures that I or we received after this roster was constructed. So, and based on some of the people we talked to, I don't want to say that it's not accurate, but that's just a big deviation from everything that we've heard. And I'm sure he's done his research there and has talked to some people here recently. But then this begs the question, like if you are, and I know there's a little bit of a gap there, but if you're right there in the ballpark with Ole Miss and LSU in terms of your spending, what is the problem then? Because the entire excuse or reasoning given for some of the struggles and everything like that is, well, it's not a level playing field. Boy, we need revenue share to level this out. Oh, teams can just pay more to get the players. They can poach our players because we can't afford to keep them. Well, if that's not entirely true, then what is the issue? Was it talent evaluation? Is it, I don't know. So it kind of calls into question a lot of different things for me. But in a strange way, I'm somewhat encouraged because it's like, okay, so you're actually not that far off relative to your peers. So maybe there's not as big of a gap that you have to overcome if you're trying to get in this third lane or whatever the heck we want to call it. There's a really fascinating statement that was made there.
It is definitely fascinating, and it begs further questions, like you said. I have a long-standing take that every single number we hear on NIL, whether that's a singular player's value or what a team is spending on their budget or the numbers for next year, I am of the belief that they are all lies. And I'm not saying they're all complete just fabrications made out of nothing. I'm sure there's some degree of truth here and there. Like you remember, Curtis, in the offseason, we heard from someone that Boogie Flan was going to get a $10 million deal or whatever. Yeah. And I don't think Boogie Flan got a $10 million deal, but he ended up going to Florida for something more than $0. So you can see there was a little bit of truth there, but then it got extrapolated and then it got, whatever. And I think it brings back a very key point here in that all of this is perception based. Now, obviously, some teams do obviously have more money than others, but like Ole Miss, that is a program that we all assume has money out the wazoo and they're paying everybody crazy money. And of course, there's some truth to that. They pay guys money, and we know some deals that went on with Arkansas and Ole Miss and what they paid. Cool. But like that number last year for Ole Miss got floated around as, hey, they've got this $21 million, $24 million roster. I don't know if they did or not, but that's at least what we all believed. And that was the perception. We look at Missouri. We all assume, hey, yeah, Missouri, they're just rolling in cash over there. They're paying their guys a lot of money. Are they? Who the hell knows? I have no idea what Bo Perubala is making. I don't know what Ahmad Hardy made to go there, but we just had this perception that it's all this thing, and that's also what these teams and coaches want you to believe. And I'm not saying that these guys are just lying and not giving out money, but I think there's a lot of reading between the lines here, but I also think it's why Arkansas, I've always disagreed with Juracek and Pittman's stance of admitting publicly that you don't have money every time you get a chance. Because then now people believe that, where it's like there are probably players that don't go to Arkansas or don't even consider it because they think, I won't get paid if I go to Arkansas. The three of us, we know there are several people on this roster getting paid. We know there are people on this roster like Taylor Green that are getting paid substantial NIL deals, maybe even over $1 million. So it's like, it's all kind of a narrative-based game. And this article pushes back against the narrative that the U of A themselves have been putting out as terms of, well, we just don't have that much money. We can't pay these guys. And it's like, why are you saying that? You as the U of A, you have no idea what Ole Miss is paying their guys. So do not admit publicly that you're paying less than a number that you don't know. I don't know why Arkansas is publicly committed to this bid of admitting they don't have money when nobody really knows how much money anybody has. You remember when Pete Nakos did that quarterback article preseason and we reacted to it and we were like, oh, wow, Jackson Arnold's getting this. Taylor Green's getting this. Garrett Nussmeier's getting this. All of it is like, again, I'm not saying it's all fake, but it's like, it's all kind of open to interpretation. And those numbers that we talked about preseason were a lot closer than we thought. And so I think it's very possible that we look at these teams and say, oh, man, they've got this crazy budget. It's probably not as big of a gap as we make it out to be in our heads.
Well, and also here's my thing on what I don't know the exact number, but using this number, who's the one player that we know for a fact of what they were scheduled or what they're getting paid? That was at Arkansas. Who's the one player that we know for a fact how much and who? We only know one. It's Madden. We knew how much he was getting.
Yeah.
He was getting $500,000. We know that for a fact. I would like to give the benefit of the doubt in thinking that if you're willing to pay $500,000 to a freshman 4-star quarterback who was more than likely going to be your third string, may not even play for 2, 3, 4 years at best, may not even finish his tenure in his career at Arkansas, which he didn't. He didn't even finish his spring classes here. He got $500,000. So if you had that type of money to spend on him, and this is looking at $16, $17 million, I don't think that's out of the realm of a possibility that that's actually how much you had to spend. Unless you were just literally paying a lot of your starters nothing, like literally no money. I know that guys like Isaac TeSlaa, hopefully he doesn't get mad at me for saying this. Isaac TeSlaa was originally paid to come to Arkansas between $350,000 and $450,000. That's just reality. So when I see these numbers, I'm like, I could see it. I don't know how much the total is. I don't know how much everybody else is spending, just like you, Andrew. But it's like, the idea of this, like, oh, it's got no money. I'm like, well, if you spent that much money on a freshman 4-star quarterback who is not going to play this year, surely that means you spend a lot of money on the guys that actually will play this year.
Well, there's a chance that we're being gaslit with all this, or hear me out here. Let me see if I can talk my way through this intelligently. If you are in the ballpark of your peers in terms of the available resources you have to spend on your roster, but you don't think you are, and you continue to stump that you're not, and you continue to say that it's a money issue, maybe you just don't have a feel for the market. Maybe you just don't have an understanding there. So I'm glad Remy Cofield is here as the GM to rectify this issue. That's what it sounds like to me, because I keep going back to everything that's been said about this, and we can go get 3 players for this amount, or they're trying to pay our guy this much, and we can't do that, and all this. But if you're actually spending in the same ballpark as all these other teams, that means you're probably not really getting outbid the way you think you are, but you're believing what players' representations or whoever are telling you about what they're getting or what offers are looking like or what the market value is for some of these players, and you're getting bamboozled yourselves here. So now we start thinking about, okay, this GM role, the assistant GM that's going to be overseeing football or whatever it is, all that stuff becomes way more important. What Hunter Yurchek said yesterday about the advanced analytics and scouting department and being able to give them the funding for that personnel so you can make more informed decisions about all this stuff, that becomes way more important, because now my mind's starting to go from, okay, they're just broke boys and they got to figure it out and get their money up, to they just have no idea what this market looks like, and they're kind of, pissing on their own foot here.
Which is 100%. That's a great point, Curtis. And you worded that very well. And that's kind of like the epiphany that I think we all kind of needed to make. And which is why when Hunter goes to the public and says, well, the only reason we're not winning in football is because we refuse to get in that third lane. And it's like, we know you're in the third lane. You're just not doing it well. That was the point we made when we had this conversation. And when Pittman would go to the press conference and say, hey, the only reason we're not winning is because, it's the NIL and we just can't spend as much as the other teams. I never felt that you guys, the fans, should be able to accept that and just say, okay, well, that's just a thing that we're never going to fix. And so, all right, whoopsie daisy. But do y'all remember during fall camp, one of the reported, insider notes that we got was that they actually spent more on the secondary than they did the offensive skill players. Do y'all remember because we had that conversation and we were kind of like, oh, that's interesting. You think about it. Jordan Young, 3-year starter at Cincinnati. He probably cost some money. Quintavious Scandrett, 3-year starter at Eastern Michigan, probably cost some money. Caleb Wooden was at Auburn, probably cost some money. You go on down the line. I think they did spend money, and it just did not result in SEC level football players. And that's the part of it where, by the way, that's what also happened with Keyshawn Blackstock, who, as we know, sat out spring practices because they weren't giving him his NIL money. And he admitted publicly the reason he went to Arkansas is because they gave him the most NIL money. I think what happened with Arkansas's roster, and look, to tie this all back to Pete Nakos' article, I don't know if the number's accurate. I'm not even here to comment on that. But here's what I do know for sure. Arkansas paid money to guys that did not wind up being SEC level football players. And there are a lot of them on both sides of the ball. And at some point, and I know we've already fired the head coach, so I'm not saying we need to hold him accountable. We've already fired him. We're cool. But it's like that's what's bugged me this whole time is that we present all these issues at the U of A as, oh, these are just things that happen, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. These are just things. Like we just suck in one score games. These are just circumstances that we have no control over, yet you are actively spending your money on players that are not turning out to be good. And by the way, that's a premise that can happen everywhere. That can happen at every sport, but it's like, that is the ultimate issue, and there was zero accountability for that. It was always just, oh, well, we just don't have money. No, you have money, and you spent money. You just didn't spend it well, and you did not coach well, and you did not develop well, and here we are. Because the idea that it's always just this one thing is never true. It's a combination of all, and so the money is also a thing. Like the Arkansas is telling you, they've been telling you for years, we don't have any money, and I just don't think there's no one else that is confirming that.
Well, and again, I think it's a fascinating conversation because it goes back to why I and us, we are so critical of Juracek and his approach to NIL and approach to so many things. And I remember we had Brandon Marcello on this show. I don't remember exactly when it was, but I think it was earlier this year. And it was, no, it was actually at the end of the football season. I remember having him on and I told him, I was like, yeah, what do you think of, one of the questions I asked was like, what do you think of Arkansas being like the only team in the SEC without a GM? And his eyes got to be, he's like, what? They don't have a GM? It's like, no. They don't have a GM. And it blew his mind. And it was like, why are you not doing these things that everybody else is doing? Because those are the guys that decide the market and can understand the market and go along with it. And then you waited until March or whenever to get a GM. And that's what still makes me laugh. That is, if he was going to have really any say in the basketball and the baseball side of things or anything like that. Like we all knew, come on now. We all knew what was going on there. And then it's like, you get this guy from Boston. I don't know what Remy's doing. He may not even be going into work. He may be working remotely back in Boston, for all I know. But the point is like you needed these things to where it's not as simplistic as just saying, oh, we don't have people writing us checks. As I've always said, people didn't become millionaires because they're dumb with money. If they've been giving you money and you have been spending poorly on that, that's a you problem. And that's when people can start being like, no, I'm not giving you any money. You spent this money and we went 6-6. It's like, how can we have this? You lose the trust of them. Because I always said, guys, and I know you remember, when Arkansas had that 9-4 season, NIL really was in the beginning stages, and it's probably not as high as it was now, but it just started up. And remember who Arkansas got out of the portal? Jaden Hazelwood. They got Drew Sanders. They got these extremely gifted players. And it felt like, okay, they work the system. They know how to do it. And then each year, time and time again, start dropping off. But I think the weirdest thing about it, guys, and I know we got a lot more to get to, but I think the weirdest thing about it was seeing the players ended up leaving. It's one thing to not go out there and understand who's out there and evaluating, but losing Luke Has, losing Patrick Kudus, losing Jalen Braxton, losing whoever, which when I'm not here to argue if they're good or not. I'm just saying those are players that you probably would have wanted. Even Pittman thought about Luke Has. He's like, I'd be upset too if I was a fan, I saw Luke Has leaving. I'm upset. It's like, okay, so what happened then? Did you not want to spend that money on him? Was he not worth it to you? I don't know, but these are the things that no one's ever going to know or find out because it's not publicly accessible knowledge. No one's going to come out and say it. The only thing I can hope for is that Sam Pittman, because we know he loves being honest. He does like a tell-all with Brandon Marcello or something of like,
or us.
oh, yeah, Pittman, you're welcome to come on with us. We'll even come down to the lake house, man. We'll hang out, Hot Springs, set it up.
Dude, we'll go to Freedom Boat Club and get a boat, and we'll take it to his house. We'll pull up.
Yeah,
we'll just drive around the lake with Sam Pittman.
That's right. That's right. I'm sure that'll totally happen, and he'll totally open up to us. But still, those are the things that's fascinating, and that answers should be made, but they're not going to be. They're just not going to be.
Yeah, and that's, you're right. Like, it's not public information there, so it's hard not to take these numbers that get put in these articles and everything. And listen, I'm sure they're sourced and vetted and everything else, but you got to take them with at least a degree of a grain of salt here because of that very fact. It's interesting messaging here. Like, I'm all for never say you have enough, but never admit that you don't. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like when John Calipari got hired and all the, reports and rumors and everything was circulating, like, oh, he's got this much money from John Tyson. They're good to go. And I remember at the intro press conference being impressed with Hunter Yurachek because he was like, hey, listen now, all right, like that money's not necessarily in the bank. We're not good here. We need more. Continue to donate. We're trying to do this. We're trying to do that. It was at that point I was like, that's brilliant, because if everybody thinks, oh, John Tyson's got this covered, we're good, nobody else is going to be making donations, and you put a limitation, a ceiling on yourself. But when you're doing the thing where you're just constantly going back to that well of, yeah, we're not able to spend relative to everybody else in the SEC here, and that's what's holding us back. What do we think what is the easier fix here? Let me ask you guys this. My hope is that they do both, right? Because they've talked about having a better financial situation, and they've talked about all the resources they're going to put into, a scouting and evaluation department and all that. So if they do both of those things, great. We might be onto something here. But what's an easier fix? You're broke and you get more money to spend on your roster, or you're not broke and you have piss poor talent evaluation and relative to the market and what these guys actually cost.
And I think the mistake people would make is assuming that both things can't be happening, that maybe it is true that they don't have the same money as their peer, but maybe it's also true that they're missing big on some big evaluations that you kind of just, when you're in a position like Arkansas, you kind of have to hit on. Hell, I'll even use Dave Van Horn as an example. Like, I know, and he's obviously closer to the top of spending in NIL than Arkansas football is, but it's like, if he had missed on the Charles Davalon evaluation, everything's different last year. If they had missed on the Brennan Iredale evaluation, everything is different. You know what I mean? They had to nail a lot of things, and they did, and they had to spend money. That's what you have is the perfect where it all comes together. You have money, you have resources, you have scouting, you have development, you add them together. That's how you have a good program. Curtis, you said something very interesting where you said, never say that you have enough money and then never admit that you don't have any. Sam Pittman, believe it or not, does both and has done both for a long time. And I know I'm being critical of Sam, and I know that it's probably wasting my breath because, again, we've already fired him. I get that, but we're talking about the state of the program. I remember after they beat Florida in 2023, they beat Florida, and they had already fired the OC, already fired the O-line coach. I remember, and I can pull up quotes if you guys want. Back in the day, Sam Pittman did a press conference where he was like, hey, I've had some conversations with some guys. I think we're going to run this thing back, and I'm actually confident that we are set up to take a step forward in the NIL department. So he didn't say we have enough, but he was like, hey, we're going to be closer to an even playing field. We're going to be closer to competition. I wrote these stories back in the day. And then he also, after the portal cycle is over, says, well, we just didn't have the same money to spend on these guys. One of the most controversial shows that you and I did was after Sam Pittman did his end-of-year press conference, and I guess that would have been in like December, January, right before portal season. And he said, yeah, with the, with revenue sharing coming down the line and with some of the things that have happened, we are now in a much better position. He used the term even playing field before revenue sharing. He said, hey, this portal cycle, it's going to be a lot more of an even playing field with some of the additions that we've made. So once again, kind of saying, not saying that we have enough, but hey, we're a lot closer to our competitors. And then after portal cycle happens, it's, well, we just, we don't have the same money that some of these guys have. And we made some of those decisions. So it's like he somehow did both. And we've gotten into a habit with the Arkansas football program of constantly making excuses, constantly passing the buck off to someone else. At some point, you just have to look at it and say, this is overall dysfunction. And that's what has happened. Like, that's why we're in the situation we're in now with an interim coach. But I think people need to now understand and realize that and accept that. Don't look back and say, well, they were good, but just this didn't happen. And just that, like, listen, it was bad. People were held accountable. The coach was fired. It was a disaster from the top. Money, scouting, evaluations, team chemistry, development, scheme, all of it. Like, it is possible for you to be bad at all of it, and Arkansas was bad at all of it.
Well, and also I know we'll move on because we got some other things to break down and all of that. But I'll go back to the whole culture thing. You guys remember one of my favorite quotes, which I know is different from the money and everything, was from Nick Saban. Nick Saban always had great rants, and I remember one of the times they had a hurt player, and he just gets mad at the media. He's like, and everybody just thinks that anytime someone goes down, we just crap out another player, another 5-star player. All right. And then you just think they're going to be great. It's like, yeah, you do, because you're Alabama and you have nothing but 5 stars. Of course you do. But that was his mentality, where it's like, I don't look at it that way. I look at it as, I don't care if he's good or not. We were always working towards him being the best and being better. And it's just a culture. It's a mentality of, it's same thing with the money side of things. It's like, you can't be satisfied. You're never going to be satisfied. You always want the most. You always want more. You never want to go backwards, and you're never going to have enough when it comes to your team and to your athletic department. That's why you've seen teams like an Ole Miss, for example. Everyone's like, oh man, they're smaller school and everything. It's like they backed it up and they keep spending more and more and more. And now look at them. They're looking dead to rights to going to a college football playoff. And honestly, if they don't make it this year, they ain't never going to make it, because they got a much easier schedule the rest of the way. But still, the point is, it's a culture thing. It's a mentality thing. It's about never having enough, always doing the best you can, and never being satisfied with it. So we'll have more of this details. We'll have some chats to get into. Let's go ahead and give them to our heavy hitters, presented by our friends over at HD Roofing and Construction, because we know storms can hit unexpectedly here in Arkansas. And with it getting to the point where it's not cold outside, it actually feels like it's summertime in most cases. Perfect weather, but that weather's going to change. You're going to start seeing a lot more rain. You're going to start having these ice, snowstorms, all those things. You need to make sure that your roof is good to go, though. It's very important, because I don't know if anyone's ever had to live in a house with a leaky roof. It's not a fun thing. It's not something that people enjoy. So make sure that your roof is good to go by having HD Roofing give you a free inspection with the peace of mind. And also, when you choose HD Roofing, you get that professionalism, as well as top quality materials and expert installation for all of your roofing needs. You can call them today at 501-428-0429. That's 501-428-0429. You can also check them out on their website at hdarkansas.com. It's HD Roofing and Construction, your official roofing company here of us inside Arkansas. Okay, so guys, my heavy hitter. I have to do this, and I know it's going to just stir up a bloody hornet's nest that everyone's going to get mad about and start getting fired up about, and all of this nonsense. But I feel like I'm obligated at this point to bring it up. Although right now I'm stalling because it's not showing up in the pictures I want to post. It doesn't matter. It's okay. Either way, shout out to Brett Favre. Because this man, for no reason at all, no one asked, no one was wondering about what his thoughts were on the opening at the Arkansas position. Well, he just wanted to chime in. He said this on his Facebook page, his Twitter page, everything. I've always said John Gruden is one of the sharpest minds in football. His energy, passion, and love for the game are a perfect fit for the SEC. Wouldn't be surprised to see him land somewhere like Arkansas. I could see Gruden being a spark for that program. Brett Favre, who has zero ties to Arkansas. No one asked him. No one was like, texting him, being like, hey man, what do you think about this? Nope. Just wanted to let everybody know that John Gruden's a really great mind, and he'd do really well at Arkansas.
Well, I'm glad you brought this up, John, because I've already made my Brett Favre reference in the past week, and we're not allowed to have two on this show. So good on you for doing that. Yeah, this is very interesting. Is this the type of endorsement that you want if you're John Gruden, or is it one that you disavow? Like when some of these political candidates get endorsed by somebody and you're like, actually, we don't mess with them.
No, this is the one you want. Just like, because John Daly apparently went on the buzz and said the same thing. He's like, I'm wanting my guy Gruden over there. So I'm like, yeah, you want the party boys, you want the crazy guys, chaos to happen.
Well, if Brett Favre and John Daly are on board, then so am I.
There you go. I'm all for it. Yeah, I just think it's funny because it's just like, who asked? Like, where did this come from? Why? Just, hey, I want everyone to know John Gruden randomly is great, and he could be great at Arkansas. So you got John Daly, you got Brett Favre. Maybe he's going for a coaching spot. Maybe Brett Favre wants to be a coach for at Arkansas under Gruden. I don't know what he would coach. I don't know if you want him coaching quarterbacks. Maybe he could be the the GM. I don't know, but either way, just shout out to Brett Favre. He's my heavy hitter for today.
I like it. I respect that one. I'll stick along the same lines here. Who would I actually give this heavy? Well, Coach Prime, I guess, because everybody's pushing Coach Prime into this coaching discussion at the University of Arkansas. Damn near every hot board that I've seen has Coach Prime listed on there. And I know was it the On3 article that had it today? And then everybody was quote tweeting like, what Deion Sanders in the SEC? Are you kidding? Wow. It's not going to happen, but I think it's funny that we're talking about it. We know Hunter Yurachek interviewed him way back when. Was that pre-Chad? When was that? Was it pre-Pittman?
It was the Chad Morris coaching cycle.
Yeah, that's so it's been a while or whatever. He makes a ton of money. I didn't realize Colorado was paying him like that, man. The dude is he's making bank over there. I'd be all for it from a content and it's like good for our brand perspective, but I am fascinated. I mean, it's been like On3, The Athletic, every single hot board I've seen from like national folks, Deion Sanders has been on it. And I'm here for it. We got 2 months of this. We need all the names and all the big time talking points that we can get. So shout out to Coach Prime for being a candidate at the University of Arkansas.
Yeah, congrats to him. I feel like if Arkansas had parted ways with Sam Pittman last year, the odds of Prime being the head coach at Arkansas would have been a lot higher, honestly.
This is a fact.
Coming off of the year they had,
Yeah.
I feel like that buzz would have been uncontrollable. I don't have a ton of heavy hitters, but I do have one, and I'm glad you didn't steal it from me, Curtis. Shout out to Nick Smith Jr., who's back in the league, or at least part-time, two-way. Signed a two-way deal with the Los Angeles Lakers, where he will potentially get to play with the dude Thero. But I don't know if with Thero's not going to be available anytime soon, though, right? Which, by the way, Curtis, I meant to text you about this yesterday. Aren't you glad Arkansas didn't pony up and give Thero a $4 million NIL package just for him to like not be available right now?
Yeah, I saw he said he told reporters yesterday that he's got some swelling back on that knee or whatever, so he's not cleared to start training camp. That's brutal. I mean, it's been since February.
Yeah.
That's rough, man.
That's a tough one, but I was happy for Nick Smith Jr., man. I mean, obviously, he got waived by the Hornets, which is a disaster of a situation. I think that is actually going to wind up being the best thing that happened to his career. He was in a situation where he was playing too much on a really bad team. Now he's going to play less on a potentially much better team. He's going to get a chance to be around LeBron. Like, that's cool. I think there's a path here, like a very clear path to Nick Smith carving out a solid bench role in the NBA, and I think this is a nice step to that. I hope he does well with his opportunity.
You think he takes all of Brownie's minutes?
Well, that wouldn't be a ton of minutes. So I think they're on the table, honestly. So yeah, we'll see. But I think he's got a chance, man.
Yep. Listen, I'm a big Nick Smith guy. I know we're big Nick Smith guys. Rooting for him to figure it out and get it worked out and everything there too. So we're in the show with the chats, but we also have to, of course, get into a little bit of a recruiting update with Dudley Dawson, because there's decommitments happening right and left for Razorback football, and we'll do that. And it's presented by our friends over at Goat Lab. I want to remind everybody that this Friday at 6 p.m. at Goat Lab Red in Fayetteville, 1214 North Garland Avenue, we're going to be having a Pod at the Palace pregame show, or in the greatest way that Curtis could put it, the Pod at the Palace primetime previewing primetime at the Palace.
Nailed it.
That's what reading can do. I can read some things sometimes, so I always have to go back and read your text, but that's what it's going to be. And the best thing about it is now we were doing that at 6 o'clock, because primetime at the Palace is at 8 p.m. They're doing 25-cent wings. No, you did not go in a time machine and go back 30 years. Like, no, the 25 cents for wings while supplies last. And it's going to be while we're there this Friday, October 3rd. It's my birthday that day, so you can come out and celebrate, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to have a birthday party there at Goat Lab Red, as well as getting to the prime time at the Palace and have a lot of fun doing it as well. So it's going to be awesome, man. I can't wait.
I told, can you repeat that one more time for the people, what we're calling this?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
So read it and read it well. The Pod at the Palace primetime previewing primetime at the Palace.
On the Pod at the Palace this morning, I mentioned that very phrase, and I said, anybody who comes up to me and can repeat that 5 times fast without screwing it up, I will buy them a Razorback, a Tusk, or a Tusk Light beer if they provide proof of being legal drinking age.
Well, there you go. There you go. I was going to say,
rounds on me if you nail it.
I was going to say, well, I don't even know. My buddy gave me some tickets to this. It's a free event, right? Or did you have to pay to get into Primetime at the Palace? I actually don't remember.
It's free. I claimed my tickets right away. Yeah.
Okay, so it's a claiming. So yeah, because somebody he's like, hey, I got these tickets, and I'm like, pretty sure those were free, and you just claim them, but I don't know. So yeah, but hey, if you're needing tickets, come by. May get you some of those too if you can repeat the claim there as well. So, but either way, it's gonna be a lot of fun though. We look forward to it. We appreciate Goat Lab Red and Goat Lab Brewery being a part of it, and we can't wait to be out there. So again, this Friday, 6 p.m., we're gonna be doing a little pregame action, and then it'll lead right into 8 p.m. at Primetime at the Palace at Bud Walton Arena. 25-cent wings. Again, I'm going to keep saying that because it's absurd. And that's, I don't know if our guy Bill has just lost his mind, but we love the guy. He's doing 25-cent wings. So come on out and hang out with us. And that being said, let's go ahead and get to your quick recruiting update with Inside Arkansas Recruiting podcast host, Dudley Dawson.
Covering recruiting and the transfer portal for the Razorbacks. This is Inside Arkansas Recruiting with Dudley Dawson.
To the Inside Arkansas Recruiting Podcast quick update, sponsored by Goat Lab Brewery. I'm your host, Dudley Dawson. Just had some thoughts on what happened yesterday. Obviously, Arkansas lost 2 commitments in linebackers, J.J. Bush and Caleb Gordon. That dropped them in the on-3 rankings to 14th in the SEC and 52nd in the country. Also, with the 247, they dropped to 49th, 13th in the SEC. So those are the current rankings with the class. We'll see if there's more that pop out. Obviously, there was a lot of discussion yesterday about the resources with athletic director Hunter Yurchek saying that he didn't think that former coach Sam Pittman had the resources to compete. That is certainly a thing that is followed up by different sources in the industry. Arkansas is 13th or 14th in most of the categories in terms of spending on the football program, and that's far cry from what it used to be before pre-portal, which they were 5th in the country and in the top in the SEC. So that's a little bit of difference. As we know, Arkansas did not get on the portal quick enough, and that has hurt them in recruiting. Speaking of recruiting, portal is going to be a big deal for Arkansas. They've got a situation where now it looks like the portal date's going to be January 2nd through 16th. They're really going to have to hit it hard there. We'll see who the head coach is. Right now it's Bobby Petrino. We'll see how he does at the end of the year. Again, want to thank Goat Lab Brewery for sponsoring. We'll be back here with more updates as things keep happening.
All right, there you go. There's the latest for Razorback football recruiting. And again, if we're going to be on top of it, no Dudley's going to be on top of it when it comes to portals and not just high school, but the portal stuff, which, as what Bobby do, knock on wood yesterday when he's like, no players have left yet, knock on wood. So yeah. Hopefully he gave the speech of all we need is all we got, or all we got is all we need, or whatever that nonsense. Actually, I heard quite the opposite. I heard it was basically be like, hey, everybody shut up and let's go. So that's the mentality that needs to happen.
It didn't seem like a long meeting that they had. It didn't seem like a super nuanced conversation. Yeah,
I know. Somebody, I was like, I need to write a speech of what it would be, and I do my Bobby Petrino impersonation to make it happen. Like something almost like the Any Given Sunday speech, but do it as Bobby. We
scratch and claw with our fingernails.
Claw with your fingernails for that inch. It doesn't do the same as Al Pacino. It just doesn't do the same. So, but either way, let's go ahead and get to the chat presented by our friends over at Basis Health, where they're changing the way healthcare is delivered by providing the mobile medical visits to the comfort of your very own home. A doctor will come to your home for urgent care, primary care, IV hydration, and so much more. It's Basis Health. They're here for you when and where you need them the most. You can learn more at basishealth.org today. All right. So again, we appreciate everyone listening, watching in, ton of people watching. It's almost like the coaching search or something's going on. So be sure to subscribe and like the video and all that good stuff. But as we all know the rules, super chats get read first. Witty, I always get nervous when I see you give a super chat. He said, best thing I liked out of Hunter's mouth yesterday was creating a talent scouting team. Pay money for a kid that sucks and seemingly trick the staff, or the staff just can't evaluate the real talent.
I did like hearing that come out of Hunter's mouth. It's very... It was clear in the moment when he said it. I mean, it kind of struck a chord with me of, okay, if that's something they're going to do, that's good. It's needed. And then after what we just spent the last 20 minutes talking about, I feel even stronger about that. So from that standpoint, man, I agree.
Yeah, definitely need some scouting. I don't know how serious that's going to be. It's well documented how behind Arkansas has been on that. I'm happy to hear him address it. I am not super confident that he's actually going to go out and find the guys to make it work.
Yeah. Also, how about this? Shout out to Mama Armstrong for the super chat. It's great to hear from you, Mama Armstrong. For those you don't know, it's Andrew Armstrong's mother. Says, praying for success for the players, fingers crossed. Yeah. I can't imagine. I know that we're wishing Andrew. I know he got engaged recently and everything, so hopefully he's doing well. But yeah, I can't imagine. That's like a lot of those players. Not everything is just about oh well, you got to get over it and all that. Like, hey, listen, it's a tough situation the players find themselves in as well.
It absolutely is, man, and not an easy situation for the players. Not an easy situation for Bobby Petrino to inherit here. Hopefully, this is one of those changes that can help galvanize a group that some of them at least haven't been given max effort there. That's what you need. And so long as all those guys are bought in and just, I don't know, getting after it and playing with a sense of pride out there, I think that they're going to get the support that they want from the fan base and everything else. But got to see it. It was a little bit alarming over the weekend how that looked. So
I just hope that no matter what the staff looks like, because soon it is possible that the staff will be consisting of 0 people that were there when Andrew Armstrong was there.
No kidding.
I hope that Andrew knows that he's still welcome in Fayetteville. He's still welcome up at the stadium, even if none of the coaches that coached him and none of the players that he played with are around anymore.
So am I right in saying that the Scott Fountain tenure lasted longer than the Sam Pittman tenure? He came with him, right?
Correct, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So he's the lone survivor.
Yep.
He's the last man standing here.
Just like we all thought after year 1.
Good for Scott, man.
It's like a Twinkie, man. When the bomb drops, he's still going to just be hanging out, man. Still going to be there. So
it's incredible.
Yeah. But only make it better. Not to make it better, but it's like if they ever ended up having to let go of Scott Fountain or whatever, man, just get John L. Smith, bring him back, make him the special teams coach again.
Yeah.
Make it happen. Let's see. Also, TriStar Super Chat, appreciate it. Says, don't see Rhett Lashley leaving one Southwest Conference team for another. All right.
Not moving within the league.
Yeah. I'm glad we got in the time machine back to the 80s. Let's see. Razorback says, if Lashley isn't y'all's top choice, who is? He feels ideal. Well, here's my thing is like, because I'm sure you guys have had the same, been asked a billion times, who do you want? Who do you want? Who do you want? It's a complicated thing now where before, when coaching searches happen in football, you had an idea of what's realistic, what's not. We knew where everything stood, but because of the NIL, because of the portal, because of all this stuff, it's like you don't know where you stand. You don't know actually how much money, because that's going to be the main driving forces for a coach. They're like, that's probably the first question. It's like, how much you giving me? I mean, that's what it's going to be. So, I mean, sure, give me Nick Saban, give me John Gruden, I guess. But honestly, if it could happen, I would love John Gruden just because of the sake of entertainment, excitement. I don't know if he'd be the best, but boy, it'd be fun for our jobs. I can tell you that. So yeah, just give me John Gruden. Why not?
I of the realistic candidates right now, and that's going to change. Like Lashley would probably be up there near the top. Like, I mean, if I had it my way, then sure, bring me Kenny Dillingham, or you know what I mean? Like bring me Kurt Signetti or Fran Brown. I just don't know that I view those as realistic at this time. They might realistically get a raise from connecting themselves to this job. We'll see what that looks like. But if something like that could come to fruition, I'd be all for it. But of the real contenders for the job that seem realistic at this point, before we have any other further information, yeah, I mean, I think Lashley would probably be right up there at the top of the list for me.
Yeah, I think the phrasing of this particular question is who, if he's not your top choice, who would you be? And so if you're asking my top choice, well, it's going to be nobody of these, in this ilk. You know what I mean? If we're doing top choice, that would mean someone that you have to say no before you go on to other choices, in which case, yeah, I think that you would go to the Kurt Signettis of the world. You'd go to the Kenny Dillinghams of the world. You'd go to the Brent Keys of the world. You would go to even the Lane Kiffin if you really wanted to. And so, yeah, like he's definitely not my top choice if that's the criteria. But like you said, Curtis, in terms of realistic options, yeah, he's definitely going to be up there near the top. I think the thing that I keep coming back to that kind of confuses me, and I know this is a cop-out answer to say it depends on the context, but a lot of times I see people say, they're like, would you be okay with John Summerall as the head coach? Or would you be okay with Alex Golesh as the coach? Would you be okay with this guy? And I'm always like, if you tell me, like, for instance, John Gruden, you mentioned John, and people say, hey, would you be okay with John Gruden? Well, what is his staff going to look like? How much NIL is he going to bring in? How much generation of, buzz and revenue and like interest in the portal? Because if those things are settled, yeah, sure, I will gladly. John Gruden would be way up on my list. But without that other context, it's hard for me to know how badly I want him to be my head coach. And so, and the same goes for Lashley. If Lashley's coming, like, yeah, would you take Lashley as your head coach? In a nutshell, of course. But like, is he going to come with a good staff? Is he going to come with a lot of money? And so, again, I'm not doing the cop-out answer of just saying, oh, I don't know. But it's going to the rest of the context is such an important part of the conversation that I almost feel like we have to talk about that before we even talk about who the coach is going to be. Because if Hunter Yurachek's going to be here and the NIL situation is going to stay relatively the same, then I'm not super bullish on the idea that Rhett Lashley would come in and do a really good job. Now, if he come in, there's going to be other changes, there's going to be more NIL, there's going to be a scouting department, there's going to be all this, then yeah, like it changes things a good bit.
Also, Justin, appreciate the super chases. Man, I wish we could get us a coach who could roll out a top 10 offense nationally and bring Hog Nation back to back top 12 rankings. I mean, yeah, that would be great. Would be great. I think that's the goal, hopefully.
So you want Bobby Petrino?
I was about to say.
What you want.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's
a good chat right there.
Yeah. But as we said before, guys, and I think we're all in agreement, if Bobby Petrino does something crazy in these final 7 games and wins like 4 out of 7, not only does he get the job, he deserves it. Like he 100% deserves the job.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I'll say this one thing, because I agree, John, 100%. That like if Bobby does, honestly, even less than that, he's still probably going to have a good chance to get the job. The one thing that I think that the question we need to ask if we are going to roll with the Bobby Petrino plan, which I'm not going to be too against, Louisville literally hired Bobby Petrino based on the premise of second chance. He had a lot of success here a decade ago. Let's give him another chance now. Enough time has passed. Let's give him another chance. And it failed very miserably. As soon as Lamar Jackson left, they went 2-10, and they fired him. And that's fine. And so that's, certainly something that doesn't disqualify him from getting the head coaching job. But I think Arkansas fans need to be asking themselves, why would that not happen at Arkansas? And there are answers to that question of he's going to have more NIL, or he's going to have more support, or he's learned how to figure out the transfer portal and blah, blah, blah. There can be an answer, but I need you guys to answer that question for me or for yourselves. Why would what happened to Bobby Petrino at Louisville just now, why would that not happen at Arkansas?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a fair question. It really is. And that's why we just have to wait for 9 weeks and see how it plays out, truly. Fishman, appreciate Super Chat, says, make NIL funding a tax deduction so rich people can buy our players instead of writing a check to the government. Sure. All right. Yeah, we'll get on that, President Trump and others. Make that happen for us all. Let's see. Woody also said, yeah, congratulations to Basis Health for their ribbon cutting ceremony today, too. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it is. They opened up their new place today. I think the ribbon cutting ceremony is from 2 to 4 up there at their Springville location. So shout out to Basis Health. Shout out to our guy, Dre, for getting it done. Peach says, I've been trying to get in the Discord server for a while, but haven't been able to get any info. Super chat, desperate attempt for Discord info. Well, the Preach, just DM me on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, and I'll hook you up. So I'll make that happen.
Be careful when you get over there.
Yeah. It needs to come with a parental advisory sticker and a lot of other warnings. It needs to start having people sign contracts if that's the case. All right, a few more. Shout out to K Hump for becoming a YouTube member. We appreciate it.
Hey.
Did we decide since there's no EA Sports college football thing, do we want to do a members only stream Thursday night? I can't remember if we decided to do that or not, but we can still talk about it.
I forgot about that, but I'm 100%. Yeah, Thursday definitely works for me. Yeah. But I also have the most flexible schedule.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll let you guys know. But appreciate you becoming a member, though, for sure. Let's see. David says, I listened to Danny Cannell and the squad rip the Arkansas job for 30 minutes this morning. Apparently, SMU is a far better job, and Arkansas belongs in the Big 12. Well, your first problem was listening to Danny Cannell. I mean, you guys are a little biased, I think.
It's not a better job. They're just better positioned to win.
Yeah.
Dude,
easier job.
Easier job is a good way to put it. Yeah. Easier job.
It's also worth noting the context. Danny Cannell saying that an ACC school is cooler than an SEC school. That's kind of like his entire bit publicly. He's going to do that. He would literally look you dead in the eye and tell you that Boston College is a better job than A&M. Dead ass. Yeah,
for sure. Showtime Production says, even if we win 2 to 3 games, don't make the same mistake Texas did with Rodney Terry.
There's something
the only similarity there is the interim thing, but
yeah, that is the only.
I do get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's just, but again, you can't do that. Like it just be, because your thing is no matter what happens with Arkansas, they're going to make the wrong decision. Because it's like if he ended up like being great and hiring him, then okay, it makes sense. But if he ended up being great and they not hired him, then he'd go somewhere else and probably win like in games a year. It's just
and Rodney Terry didn't have the track record that Bobby Petrino does as a head coach before that opportunity. Also didn't have the baggage, in fairness, but he also didn't just win 2 or 3 games. Like it was a ready-made contender that was built by Chris Beard, but he took him to the Elite 8. You know what I mean? So at that point, you got to give him the poor man's extension and the full-term tag there, and they got rid of him as soon as they could. But they were boxed into a tough situation. I understand what you're saying there with what that might look like, especially with, with Andrew, what you were just saying about kind of how some other places have been left in the aftermath of the Petrino thing there, but we'll see what happens.
Well, it's interesting that he mentioned Rodney Terry, because I will not look back at Rodney Terry's time at Texas as like this massive mistake. I look at it like you do, Curtis, as that was a bridge, that was a means to an end. And so honestly, if you're going to hire Petrino as the head coach, or if, he's the interim coach now, I think we all kind of agree it's a means to an end. Even if they do hire Bobby Petrino as the head coach, that doesn't mean you sign him to a 17-year deal and you're like, all right, we're set. You know what I mean? Like, sure. I think there actually is room in between for something like that, where maybe it's a 2-year thing, maybe it's a 3-year thing, maybe it's a 5-year thing, or maybe it's a 1-year thing. I don't know. Maybe you just do a permanent interim tag. Interim.
How about, I know, here's my theory, guys. You give Bobby Petrino a contract offer for every win that he has per year. So it's like if he wins 2 games, you give him a 2-year deal. Wins 3, you give him a 3-year deal. The more games you win this year is how many years you get on a contract. So
I think if he wins 7, we can give him more than a 7-year deal.
If he wins all 7, then I'm going to pull an Auburn and say Arkansas are the national champions. They went undefeated. They belong in the playoff. Stop. No, I'm going to make light of that. I was like, what if they went undefeated? That put them at 9-3 and suddenly they're in the playoff. They'd give them 1 SEC loss on the year. Stop. I'm not even going to think about it. Let's see. So like Muscle Hog says, careful opening anything from Favre. Yep. Noted. A couple more here. Vince Remy says, inside Arkansas opinion, why did the defense quit on Travis when in past years they played extremely hard for them until the season was basically over?
My question for you would be, are you sure they played hard for him in past years? Because I remember them in 2023 outright quitting against Missouri to finish that year. And you could argue they were quitting on Sam Pittman, or maybe they were quitting on someone else, but they quit in that season. 2024, I don't know if they quit against Ole Miss, but
they did.
Pretty close to quitting,
they did.
I understand that's not every week, that's not every game. So I would say actually, like, this is more like, this is clearly the worst defense he's had, but I would say there have been inklings of this throughout his entire tenure.
Yeah,
they quit against Auburn his first year too. They lost like 52-0 against Peyton Thorne.
Yeah, and also too, like, there's no rhyme or reason to some of those things. Like every situation's different, but I mean. Again, I just can't believe. I can't believe 42 points in the first half, while also meaning the other team got the ball to start the second half is just a wild thing. So
listen, we're 3 guys who have been cursed by Arkansas Razorback fandom. We can't relate to that quitting mindset. So it's like if you're asking me to get in the mind of a quitter, and I can't do that. That's not how I'm built.
Yeah, all Bobby needs to do is whoever made that video for the baseball team with the boots, just do that again for Petrino and the guys. The boots, and it's Arkansas, Tennessee, so it's perfect. Same team. So just have it happen. And here's my thing: if I'm Petrino, he won't do it. But if I'm Petrino, man, I'm getting Cal, I'm getting Dave Van Horn, I'm getting the likable, lovable Arkansas people like on the sidelines with me. Like I'm gonna try to do all that. So, let's see a couple of final thoughts real quick. I know we'll get the close out, but also SEC Football Media Days is officially in Tampa. So they made that known next year.
All that.
So when I think of the SEC, I think of Tampa. But
cool, though. It's going to be hot as hell, but.
Yeah, and it's so far away for everybody on this side of the conference, but it's got direct flights and everything good. So, but yeah, any final thoughts, guys, before we roll out of here for the day?
Fun show, man. It's fun talking about this every day, and there's still so many things, so many stones left unturned here that we can continue to get into. So no, really good time. Appreciate everybody for joining us. We it's not lost on us, the craziness of the numbers of people who are tuning in. We just ask that you subscribe to the YouTube channel while you're here. It helps us out a lot. And you guys know the drill with us, man. When things happen, news breaks, we go live and we talk about it. So make sure you turn those notifications on as well. And it's football. It's dominating things as it should right now. Still stuff going on. Fall baseball is going on. There's some bombastic action. Basketball starts on Friday. The Pot to Palace still goes out every morning. Got the recruiting podcast with Dudley, keeping you informed. Just tap into everything we got going on.
In fact, if you want to know the 5 guys who have really raised their stock during fall practice for the Arkansas Razorback baseball squad, we will be going in depth on those 5 guys here on today's Bombastic Podcast. So look forward to that. But yeah, you're right, Curtis. This episode could have been an hour and a half longer. Like, we really could just keep going for a while. And I'm sure it's going to feel that way for a lot of these days where it's like, man, there's just unlimited things we can talk about. And that's what makes it fun. So like you said, make sure you're tapped into what we're doing. And if you miss us, don't worry. We'll be back very shortly. And so look forward to doing this for the next forever.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's going to keep going. And maybe don't say this too often, but hey, if you're ever a business or anybody that wants to partner with us here at Inside Arkansas, because with this coaching search stuff, it's almost like its own animal. And if you want to be on top of it with us, we have some sponsorships available for the coaching search here with Inside Arkansas and Inside Arkansas Football. So just hit me up at john@insidearkansas.com. Let's talk about it. So, but it's awesome, man. We appreciate everybody watching. Appreciate everybody listening, subscribing, all that great stuff. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot going on, but we're here for it all, and we'll be here on Inside Arkansas. So be sure to subscribe to us. That'll do it for us today. For Andrew Ellis, as well as Curtis Wilkerson and intern Cameron, I am John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel tomorrow at noon. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll see you then.